When people ask me about OMAD, one meal a day, the first question is almost always the wrong one. They ask, "Doctor, what's the perfect time to eat?" But biology doesn't work in the perfect hours, dear. It works in rhythm. But before I tell you everything, I just have a small request. If you're new to my YouTube channel, please make sure you hit that red subscribe button and also turn on the bell icon so you will always get the notifications to my lectures early. And as you're deciding to watch this lecture, please make sure you stay till the very end. Because if you miss some context, you may end up doing everything right, but mess up on some of the small details that matters the most. Now, OMAD is powerful because it creates a long fasting window. Insulin drops, glycogen depletes, fat burning increases. Autophagy, the body's internal cellular cleaning system, begins to rise as nutrient signaling decreases. But here's what most people miss. The timing of that one meal interacts directly with your circadian rhythm. Your body is not metabolically identical at 8 a.m., 2 p.m., and 8 p.m. Hormones shift, digestive enzymes fluctuate, insulin sensitivity changes. Even your psychological relationship with food is different depending on the time of day. So the question is not simply, does OMAD work? The real question is, when does OMAD work best for you? Let's start with the circadian foundation. Your body runs on a 24-hour internal clock, regulated by light exposure and the brain's master clock in the hypothalamus. This clock influences cortisol, melatonin, insulin sensitivity, digestive efficiency, and mitochondrial function. In the morning, cortisol naturally rises. This is healthy. It wakes you up, it mobilizes glucose, it prepares you for activity. At the same time, insulin sensitivity is generally higher earlier in the day. That means your body handles carbohydrates more efficiently in the morning and early afternoon compared to late at night. By evening, melatonin begins to rise. Insulin sensitivity declines. Digestive efficiency slows slightly. Your body shifts toward rest, repair, and preparation for sleep. Now think about OMAD within that framework. If you eat your one meal at 9 a.m., you are aligning with higher insulin sensitivity and digestive readiness. If you eat at 2 p.m., you are still within a strong metabolic window, often with stable energy and good insulin control. If you eat at 8 p.m., you may be eating when insulin sensitivity is lower and melatonin is rising, which can influence glucose control and sleep quality. Does that mean evening OMAD is wrong? Not necessarily, because metabolism is not just chemistry, it is also psychology and lifestyle. Autophagy, for example, increases during fasting. The longer you fast, the more cellular repair signaling rises. OMAD naturally creates 22 to 23 hours of fasting, depending on how tightly you define the eating window. But the stress of forcing an eating time that conflicts with your life can elevate cortisol chronically, and cortisol can interfere with fat loss and sleep. So timing matters, but flexibility matters too. Now I'll break down morning OMAD, how it interacts with cortisol, insulin sensitivity, hunger hormones, and energy levels, and who tends to thrive when eating early in the day. This would mean eating your single meal somewhere between roughly 7 a.m. and 10 a.m., then fasting the rest of the day. On paper, this aligns beautifully with circadian biology. In the early part of the day, insulin sensitivity is typically at its highest. Your muscles are primed to absorb glucose efficiently. The pancreas does not need to produce as much insulin to manage the same carbohydrate load compared to late evening. From a purely metabolic standpoint, this is efficient. Cortisol is also elevated in the morning. That sounds negative to some people, but it's not. Morning cortisol helps mobilize stored energy. If you eat during this window, you're layering nutrition onto a system that is already metabolically awake. Digestion is often strong, gastric motility is active, enzyme production is responsive. If you're still here listening to me, comment below the word yes, and I'll know how many of you are serious about this informative lecture. And if you're enjoying the information so far, make sure you leave me a like on this video. This small gesture from your side will tell YouTube that this lecture is beneficial. Now let's talk about fat loss and autophagy. If you eat at 8 a.m. and then fast until the next morning, you create a very long overnight fasting period. Insulin drops for many hours. Glycogen depletes. The body shifts into fat oxidation for most of the day and throughout the night. Autophagy. that internal cellular repair process is supported by this extended fasting window. In fact, from a cellular repair perspective, early OMAD may provide a strong autophagy window because you're fasting during the biologically natural repair phase of the night. But here's where physiology meets psychology. For many people, social life and family meals happen in the evening. If you eat at 8 a.m. and then sit at dinner with your family every night not eating, that creates stress. Chronic stress elevates cortisol in a dysregulated way. That can impair sleep, increase cravings, and even slow fat loss in some individuals. There's also the issue of evening hunger. Ghrelin, the hunger hormone, often rises in the evening out of habit. If someone is used to eating dinner, skipping it can feel psychologically harder than skipping breakfast. Now let's consider energy. Some people feel incredible mental clarity fasting through the afternoon and evening. Others experience dips in mood or irritability by late afternoon if they ate early. Chronotype matters here. If you are a natural early riser, energized in the morning and winding down early at night, morning OMAD may feel aligned. If you are naturally more alert in the evening, forcing early OMAD may feel restrictive and draining. Sleep quality is another factor. Eating early often improves sleep because insulin and digestion are not competing with melatonin at night. Many people report deeper sleep and fewer nighttime awakenings with earlier meal timing. So morning OMAD is metabolically efficient, potentially supportive of autophagy, and often beneficial for sleep, but it must fit your lifestyle. Now I'll examine afternoon OMAD, often the most balanced option, and why many people find it sustainable for both fat loss and stable energy. For many people, this is the most practical and metabolically balanced window, somewhere between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. By this time, your natural morning cortisol peak has already risen and started to decline. You are fully awake, your body temperature is higher, mental performance is often sharp. Insulin sensitivity is still relatively strong in the early to mid-afternoon. It's not quite as high as early morning, but it's significantly better than late evening. From a glucose control standpoint, this is a favorable window. If you fast overnight, skip breakfast, hydrate in the morning, perhaps have black coffee, and then eat at 1 or 2 p.m., you've already completed a substantial fasting period. Insulin has remained low for many hours. Glycogen stores have started to deplete. Fat oxidation is active. When you eat in the early afternoon, you refuel without colliding with the natural rise of melatonin later in the evening. This timing often produces steady energy through the day without interfering with sleep. Now let's consider autophagy. Autophagy increases during fasting, but it does not instantly shut off the moment you eat. It gradually rises and falls based on nutrient signaling. If you eat at 2 p.m. and finish by 3 p.m., you still have roughly 21 hours before your next meal. That provides a meaningful fasting window for cellular repair, and psychologically, afternoon OMAD can feel more sustainable. You can share a late lunch with coworkers or family. You are not skipping dinner entirely, but you're not eating too late either. Social flexibility improves adherence. Hunger regulation also adapts. Ghrelin tends to rise at habitual meal times. When you consistently eat at 2 p.m., your body begins anticipating food at that hour. Morning hunger often diminishes after adaptation. Comment below the word hunger regulation if you find yourself snacking late at night. And if you're enjoying the information so far, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave me a like on this video. Now let's talk about exercise. If you train in the late morning, breaking your fast after exercise can feel natural. Insulin sensitivity is enhanced after physical activity. Muscles are ready to absorb nutrients efficiently. This pairing, late morning workout, early afternoon OMAD, works very well for many individuals. Energy stability is often excellent in this window. You fast through the morning when many people report strong mental clarity. You eat midday, which can prevent the late afternoon crash. And by evening, digestion is largely complete, supporting good sleep quality. But again, individuality matters. Shift workers, night owls, or individuals who train intensely in the evening may not thrive with an afternoon meal. There is no universal rule. Tell me in the comments if you work night shift or have to stay up late at night due to work. Let's see if we should address this concern in future lectures. And if you're still here, it means you're enjoying the information so far, so please make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave me a like on this video. And also share it with your loved ones right after you finish watching. Now let's discuss the most common version of OMAD. Evening OMAD. This usually means fasting all day and eating one meal somewhere between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. For many people, this feels the most natural socially. Family dinners happen in the evening. Social gatherings happen at night. Psychologically, eating at the end of the day can feel rewarding. But metabolically, this timing has both strengths and weaknesses. Let's begin with insulin sensitivity. As the day progresses, insulin sensitivity gradually declines. By evening, especially close to bedtime, the body does not handle glucose as efficiently as it does earlier in the day. Melatonin begins rising as darkness approaches. Melatonin and insulin signaling do not work optimally together. When melatonin is elevated, glucose tolerance decreases. That means the exact same meal eaten at 8 a.m. may produce a higher glucose spike at 8 p.m. Now, does that mean evening OMAD prevents fat loss? Not necessarily. Remember, OMAD creates a long fasting window. If you fast from 8 p.m. until the next evening, insulin remains low for most of the day. Fat oxidation increases. Autophagy rises during those long daytime fasting hours. From a pure fasting duration standpoint, evening OMAD can still support fat loss and cellular repair. In fact, many people experience strong mental clarity while fasting through the morning and afternoon. Productivity can be high. Hunger often comes in waves and then passes. But we must talk about sleep. If the meal is large and eaten late, especially high in refined carbohydrates, blood sugar fluctuations during the night can disrupt sleep. Heart rate may remain elevated. Digestion competes with the body's natural nighttime repair processes. Some people sleep deeply after an evening meal. Others experience restlessness. This is highly individual. Cortisol rhythms also matter. If you push your meal too late and go to bed with active digestion, cortisol may rise in the early part of the night. That can fragment sleep and reduce recovery. Tell me in the comments, at what time do you usually sleep? And does fasting affect your sleep? Share your experience in the comments. Now let's consider psychology. For many individuals, evening OMAD feels emotionally satisfying. You complete your workday, you sit down, you eat a full meal without rushing. There is a sense of closure. That psychological satisfaction improves adherence, and adherence determines results more than theoretical metabolic perfection. If someone attempts morning OMAD but constantly feels socially isolated or irritable by dinner time, stress hormones rise chronically. That stress can counteract some metabolic benefits. So evening OMAD can work very well, particularly for people who prefer fasting during busy work hours. Train in the afternoon and refuel at night. Value dinner as their primary social meal. But the meal composition must be thoughtful. Protein first. Fiber-rich vegetables next. Carbohydrates in moderation. Avoid heavy, highly refined late-night sugar spikes. Now I'll directly compare these three windows, morning, afternoon, and evening, and examine how chronotype, work schedule, training time, and lifestyle determine which OMAD timing truly fits you. Morning OMAD aligns strongly with circadian biology. Insulin sensitivity is high, digestion is efficient. Sleep often improves because the body is not processing food at night, but it may conflict with social patterns and evening hunger habits. Afternoon OMAD offers a metabolic middle ground. Insulin sensitivity is still solid. Cortisol has stabilized. You avoid late-night digestion while preserving social flexibility. For many people, this becomes the most sustainable compromise. Evening OMAD provides psychological satisfaction and social convenience. It leverages long daytime fasting hours for fat burning and autophagy. But insulin sensitivity is lower, and late eating can interfere with sleep in some individuals. Now here is what matters most. Chronotype. If you are a natural early riser, alert at 6 a.m., winding down by 9 p.m., forcing yourself to eat at 9 p.m. may disrupt your sleep architecture. Your biology prefers earlier nourishment. If you are a night owl, creative and energized late in the evening, an early morning OMAD may feel unnatural and draining. Your internal clock influences hunger hormones like ghrelin and leptin. It affects cortisol timing. It influences when you feel mentally sharp. Trying to override that entirely often leads to friction. Work schedule matters too. A surgeon operating all morning may not be able to eat until afternoon. A teacher may only have time for dinner. A shift worker may have a completely inverted rhythm. OMAD must serve your life, not fight it. Exercise timing is another major variable. If you train intensely in the morning, eating earlier may enhance recovery and performance. If you lift weights at 5 p.m., an evening OMAD may feel more appropriate. Post-exercise insulin sensitivity is elevated. Muscles are primed to absorb nutrients. Aligning your meal with that window can be strategic. Now let's talk about hunger regulation. Hunger is not purely physical. It is conditioned. If you have eaten dinner at 7 p.m. for 20 years, your ghrelin will rise around 7 p.m. If you shift your meal to 1 p.m. consistently for 2 weeks, that hormonal pattern begins to adapt. The body learns. This is why I always caution patients against judging OMAD timing after just 2 or 3 days. Adaptation takes time. Autophagy also adapts. As your body becomes accustomed to longer fasting windows, metabolic flexibility improves. You transition into fat oxidation more smoothly. Energy becomes steadier. The perfect OMAD timing is not the one that looks best on paper. It is the one that harmonizes with your circadian rhythm, your responsibilities, your training schedule, and your psychology. If you're still here listening to me, comment below the word "I'm listening" and I'll know how many of you are still attending the lecture. Now I'll give you a structured experimentation plan, a simple 2-week testing framework, so you can determine your ideal OMAD window scientifically rather than emotionally. Because theory is helpful, but experimentation reveals truth. If you want to determine your ideal OMAD timing, you must test it systematically. Not emotionally, not impulsively, scientifically. Choose one eating window, morning, afternoon, or evening. Commit to it for at least 2 full weeks. Do not change the time every few days. Your hormones need consistency to recalibrate. Ghrelin adapts, insulin patterns stabilize, cortisol rhythms adjust. During those 2 weeks, track 5 simple markers. First, energy. How do you feel in the morning, midday, evening? Are you clear-headed or foggy? Calm or irritable? Stable or crashing? Second, sleep. How quickly do you fall asleep? Do you wake during the night? Do you feel restored in the morning? Sleep quality is one of the most sensitive indicators of whether your meal timing aligns with your circadian rhythm. Third, hunger. Is hunger predictable and manageable? Or are you battling intense cravings at a time that feels unsustainable? Remember, some hunger during adaptation is normal, but constant agitation is a sign of friction. Fourth, digestion. Is your meal comfortable? Any bloating? Reflux? Heaviness at bedtime? Digestive efficiency changes across the day. Your body will tell you if the timing feels natural. Fifth, results. Are you noticing gradual fat loss? Waist reduction? Improved blood sugar readings if you measure them? Stable mood? Do not expect dramatic transformation in 2 weeks. Look for direction, not perfection. Now here is something important. Do not change everything at once. Keep your meal composition relatively consistent. Protein first. Fiber-rich vegetables. Moderate carbohydrates based on your goals. Avoid excessive late-night sugar if you are testing evening OMAD. Keep caffeine timing consistent. Keep sleep schedule consistent. The variable you are testing is meal timing. After 2 weeks, evaluate honestly. If energy is steady, sleep is deep, hunger is manageable, digestion is comfortable, and progress is occurring, you have likely found a good fit. If sleep is fragmented, hunger feels chaotic, or energy crashes are frequent, adjust the timing and test again. This removes ideology. There is no universal best hour. There is only alignment. Now let me leave you today with something simple but powerful. OMAD is not about eating once a day. It is about creating a long enough fasting window for insulin to fall, fat oxidation to rise, and autophagy to activate while still living a normal life. Timing refines that process. Morning OMAD may optimize insulin sensitivity and sleep for early chronotypes. Afternoon OMAD may provide the most balanced blend of metabolic efficiency and sustainability. Evening OMAD may maximize social flexibility and psychological satisfaction while still delivering long fasting hours, but none of these matter if you cannot sustain them calmly. Autophagy does not require perfection, it requires space. Fat loss does not require suffering, it requires hormonal consistency. Energy does not require constant stimulation, it requires metabolic flexibility, the ability to switch between glucose and fat smoothly. That flexibility develops through repetition. If you choose a mealtime and constantly question it, adjust it, abandon it, restart it, your body never fully adapts. But when you commit to a rhythm, hunger hormones stabilize, cortisol patterns normalize, insulin becomes more efficient, sleep synchronizes over months, not days. I often tell patients this: the best OMAD timing is the one you forget about. The one that fits into your work schedule without stress. The one that allows you to sleep deeply. The one that lets you enjoy your meal without guilt or urgency. The one that feels stable. Because long-term metabolic health is not built on biohacking extremes, it is built on sustainable cycles. Eat, fast, repair, repeat. If your chosen OMAD window supports stable energy, calm focus, good digestion, restorative sleep, and gradual fat loss, then it is working. Even if someone on the internet claims another hour is more optimal, your biology is individual. Test thoughtfully, observe honestly, adjust slowly, and once you find alignment, stop chasing perfection. Consistency will outperform optimization every time. That is where fat loss becomes steady. That is where energy becomes reliable. And that is where autophagy quietly does its work in the background. Now, if you've watched my full lecture today, I would genuinely appreciate your attention and love towards what I say. Please go right now in the comment section and comment "I stayed till end," and also tell me what was the one best thing you learned today. I'd love to hear that. And if you think today's lecture was beneficial and informative, please make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and share it with someone you care about. Thanks for joining me in today's session. Take care of your body, and I'll see you in the next lecture tomorrow.